Hello there, everybody. Welcome to the full moon in Gemini, full Beaver moon. It is an interesting energy. I I've felt a bit of a breakthrough last night. I'm recording this on Sunday, the day before our full moon. So this is why we say usually like a few days before, a few days after, you still feel the effects of that astrological event. Full moon, new moon, eclipse. Eclipse is maybe longer. And so somewhere in that funk, when you feel the energy change from the planetary alignment, it brings something up, and it all depends what it's bringing up. Whether you feel like you're hitting a wall, whether you feel like the clouds are opening, whether you feel like this twisting, turning, testing time, and then you finally like, oh, right, I can just let go on that level. And there's breathing space, and you've had your moment, your insight. So it's sort of like the intensity of the alignments that it brings up. It's basically what's it stirring in you, in your personal chart. Knowing your chart helps. So think right now, if any of you know your astrology chart, where does Gemini fall? And particularly with the degree of the moon, where does it fall? Because sometimes houses are split. You can be Gemini rising, but you could be 15 degrees Gemini rising. The moon might be in your 12th house if it's early in Gemini, could be in your first otherwise. Makes a big difference. So, knowing your chart and knowing where these particular aspects fall is really the key if you want to use astrology to go deeper in your self-awareness. So, we're going to take a look at the chart in a moment. But just to say, overall, it's been a bit of a pressure cooker feeling, bit of a testing feeling. And for me, I've had a moment of levity, of release. So I hope for you that you also get some sort of moment like that too, that helps you. Excuse me, it's dry eyes in the apartment. Um, so I wanted to just remind people who might be new here or who forgot that I do have a book, a little bit of intuition, and I'm going to be doing more with my Intuition Cafe, more and more. I'm getting people joining every week, almost every day. So it's very encouraging. And I'll be expanding on the content that I offer there. For now, you can go over to Facebook for free. Just look up Intuition Cafe, Clairvoyant Medium Catherine Allen. And it's just like a little safe community to share with other intuitive people and practice a little bit. So, excuse me. Also, if you would like a session, or if you'd like, perhaps you want some holiday gift certificate or something, you can always reach me here, message me here, or find me on Facebook, Instagram, or my email, river.rain.info@gmail.com, which is also below in the links. And also, if you like my content, hit the subscribe button, the like button, share it. I love it when people share it. That would make me real happy. And I'll also put out there a suggestion that a long-term friend and customer friend said to me the other day, if you want to weigh in on the comments on this, she asked if I could separate the video into 3 different parts, perhaps, so they're shorter segments instead of one big long one. So I could keep the long one and then break it down into the chart analysis, the tarot for the moon, and the readings. All of that being said, if you love that idea, if that would make your life easier and you would watch it more, I'd love to know, because I'll put in the work. If it's like whatever, then I need to know that as well, because it'll add a lot of editing to my life. But I will do it if you would like it, if you think that would be good. So without further ado, let's take a look at this chart of our full moon. And it's coming up tomorrow, Monday the 27th. And it falls at 4:16 a.m. if you're in the Eastern time zone. Ugh, why is it doing this again? It's telling me I'm sharing, but I can't see my video icon to the side like usual. So it makes me nervous that it's not doing that. Okay. I'm going to stop and I'm going to share it one more time. Oh, there, it just worked. Okay, it was slow. My bad. All right, we'll just be patient. There it is. With technology, I just don't want to go on and give like an entire chart analysis and then it didn't record or something. It has happened. It isn't fun. All right, so as I mentioned, tomorrow, Monday the 27th, 4:16 a.m. on the Eastern time zone. That means that this full moon still has a Scorpio as a rising sign if you're in the Eastern time zone. So for us, that'll just mean that, you want to probably keep this internal intensity transformation that's going on private. Or, when Gemini comes in and it likes to talk and share, it likes to know, it likes to get in the business of. Sometimes it likes to gossip or spread news. With a Scorpio rising, I mean, could that increase the gossip factor, the covert? It could. It doesn't mean it will for everybody, but it certainly could. Just burning my sage because I feel compelled to burn some sage before we start. All righty. So let's take a look. Now the sun is over here in Sag. Mars is right beside it. Mars conjunct the sun, opposite the moon. Yikes. This is why it's intense. The sun and Mars together can be extremely charged up and dynamic. And, especially in Sag, it can be like sun Mars together in Sag would be like, let's go camping, like canoe camping, like now, even in the cold. Be like, what? It could be ready to launch any kind of energetic project at any time. Mars there is very active, usually more athletic. Mars in Sag doesn't have a lot of tact usually, sort of blurts things out. It's interesting. It's just sort of like we're in this dark, cold, wet time of year. The light is decreasing until the solstice, and it's like everyone's tired, right? Everyone I meet is just like so tired. And we can talk about why people are tired on many levels too, because there's just a lot of transformation going on and it makes everybody tired. Switching to the fifth dimension ain't restful. So Mars and Sun and Sag is sort of like makes everybody wanna or think they should be super energetic and positive and rah rah go 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 right now, which is not the energy of the season, but that's what's going on in the planets. So it could rev you up for holiday plans. You might feel like you got one last burst of energy to go out and do things. Certainly might make people more actively social or going to, I don't know, like I said, going to events or getting fit or taking a day trip or something spontaneous. That's sort of a fun thing to have in the air in a way, as long as, like I said, it doesn't pull you between like the energy of the season, which is like calm down, go within, rest more, reflect, take extra space if you need it, because it's going into the dark winter yin, the darkest day. And then this is like, oh, let's go on a road trip. Right? Like, so it all depends where you're at. Now, full moon over here in Gemini, 4 degrees. Remember, I mentioned the degrees and figure out where it is in your personal chart. So if you can spot where 4 degrees Gemini is in your chart, 4 degrees, 2 degrees of Sagittarius in your chart, you'll know what it's activating. So when I cringed with the moon and Mars, it's also because Mars has the other side of it, like the energizing and firing up side for sure, the warrior-like side. But Mars also has the side where, you know, it can be manipulative. Well, not in Sag, it's going to be more direct. It's well, aggression, right? Aggression on different levels is Mars too. So how would Mars and Sag be aggressive? Well, it might just blurt out something really maybe true but nasty, you know? Um, it might act fairly selfishly. Mars, when it's opposing the moon, is hard because already the sun's opposing the moon. So the overall singular Sagittarian, draw back the bow. Let's just do that. It's really, come on, go. It's simple. Let's do it. Is counteracted by Moon in Gemini, which is like got multiple things going on at once, not just one. Has many people in their lives, not just one. Or like a singular, like a, you know, a more like a little group, one group. It's managing many, many, many multiple. Moon in Gemini people, if you're born with Moon in Gemini, you'll know. You can't choose just one thing. One lady said to me, there's no way I would ever have one of those Martha Stewart like closets. Like my stuff's never going to match. I'm never going to have like all the separates and all the and change my. She said, no way. My closet looks like a big hippie mishmash. Like, yeah, that's a Moon in Gemini. Moon in Gemini is just too curious about everything and everyone to say no. So they can't help themselves. Oh yeah, let's try that. Let's meet them. Oh, it wasn't what I planned, but okay, yeah, that I'm intrigued. Let's go see. Let's go ask. Let's meet them. And it's very fluid and adaptable and curious, and it's often kind of flirty, can be kind of gossipy, and it's super curious and charming and adaptable and smart, like clever. And it just wants to get its fingers in anything that it finds interesting. So Mars and Sun and Sag is really like, pack the canoe, get in the car, we're going. No. And Moon and Gemini is like, well, can we bring so-and-so? It's like, no, it's just a family. No. Well, I'm going to bring my books and listen to my music in the car. No, it's a road trip. We're all just going to listen to the same thing. We're having fun. Moon and Gemini, well, but like, I've got other things I said I would do. Could we leave a little later? No, let's all get aligned. One big happy family. That's it. So you could be going through that with your social life or with work. Like you might, if you're on the Gemini side where you want to keep your options open and you want to include or diversify, you might find like the Sun Mars Sagittarius thing a little bit too much. And others of you might love like that feeling of sort of singular rallying and clarity of the Sagittarius Sun Mars. You might sort of welcome it. Like it's like, yeah, let's just simplify this. I can't get the sun out of my eyes unless I close all my curtains in here. Okay. Anyway. So is that better? Oh, and now leaf blowers. Great. Okay. So let's take a look at the other aspects that we mentioned, because I mentioned there were some squares in this full moon, which are also making it a little tougher. There's a few. Look at all these red lines. Yikes, huh? So it's an intense full moon. Now, Sun Mars is squaring Saturn, Moon is squaring Saturn. So on top of Mars opposite the Moon, which can be sort of aggressive to the Moon, it would mean some, something in the energy is going against you getting what you need. It's harder to get your needs met. You might go against your own needs with that aspect. There's such a side of you that wants to just be, I don't know. Well, like let's use the other analogy again. Maybe this one side of you just really idealizes or wishes that you could be the person that just drops everything and you have everything all clean and clear and it's like a mission and off you go. But if you're not really like that and you're more like the Moon in Gemini and you need things a little more gentle, a little more diverse, a little more, you're going to find that you feel sort of trapped, even though it's this big high energy, great thing that's going on. But you might feel like, well, that might be great, but I don't want to go. Like, I want to do other things. I'm not in that mood. So you can go against yourself. You can go against your own needs during an aspect like that. Saturn squaring the Moon is the same thing. You're going to, one person said to me years ago, the Moon square Saturn in his chart was like, every time I reach out for something I want, Saturn comes along and raps me on the knuckles and says, no, not yet. You can't have that. Saturn in Pisces just sort of throws like a wet blanket on all of this. So despite the oppositions I just described to you of, busy social butterfly curious person versus let's go on a mission person, you've got Saturn squaring both of them going, really? I don't know. I'm not sure. Is that being nice to everybody? Is that really including everybody? Is that really like the most creative way we could do that? Have you thought of all the needs of people? Have you considered that your mission might be affecting other people, or maybe you shouldn't buy so many things or talk to so many people because other people are feeling left out, and you really should think about, including everybody and everybody's needs and everybody's. So Saturn in Pisces is there to like remind, that's some of my eyes driving me nuts there. It's there to remind us that we're all one, but it can also sometimes play out like a martyr, or as I was doing, like a bit of a whiny factor. But ultimately, it wants us to be aware of and compassionate to everybody involved. And so the Moon in Gemini can get all wrapped up in different directions, and despite its amazing versatility and curiosity, maybe it just dropped somebody because it was curious about another. Didn't mean to, but that's just how they are. It's like squirrel. Oh, all right. You were in the middle of saying something important. Oh crap. So Saturn in Pisces is there to be like, you've got to be more sensitive than that. You've got to have compassion. You've got to understand how people feel. When you start inviting 20 people and spreading yourself too thin, you're affecting other people with that behavior too. So you really ought to be aware. And when it's squaring Sagittarius, Sag is going to get really frustrated with that. It's like just, they'll want to tell the Saturn and Pisces, like, suck it up. It's okay. It isn't perfectly inclusive, but it's still good. And does it really matter? Let's just go. Let's just get something done. So Saturn's putting a damper on both those extremes. Now, as you can see, there's another major square happening here. Looks like a little fan, doesn't it, the way this is going? So Pluto is squaring off a few things. Pluto is squaring off with the moon, not the moon. Pluto is squaring off with Jupiter. Jupiter and the North Node. And it's squaring off with Venus and the South Node. And of course, nodes are always opposite each other. And Venus is opposite Chiron. So you got Venus and Libra in the 12th house of this chart. Oh, why am I groaning? Okay, Venus and Libra wants everything to be nice and fair and pretty. And wants to just make it all, like, just wants everyone to get along. And that's a lovely desire, but it's very difficult to achieve when you've got these other forces that I've been talking about, because she's sitting there alone with the South Node, so she's not supported. That's not the direction we're going in, is like, let's just try to elevate everybody by being, you know, so charming and diplomatic and creating harmony and, you know, this harmonious, beautiful behavior and setting are going to just sort of bring everyone together in this harmonious, fair, beautiful world. That's sort of what Venus and Libra would like. And it's too soft to have an effect on the rest of these planets, in my opinion. And it's sitting there in the 12th house, which is the unconscious. This is why I'm groaning, because deep down, the Venus South Node in Libra, if you run into conflicts with these other planets, she's suppressing or not aware that she just wants a little bit of magical solution to come along and sort of just fix it or sweep over the cracks. She's going to be upset that things are not smooth and fair. And she's probably not going to have the easiest time communicating any of that. Venus is squaring Pluto down there in Capricorn. And that usually creates power struggles with people, sometimes mainly with women, but because Pluto in Capricorn, as we've mentioned for the last, since 2008, is just sort of the ultimate capitalist, corporate, emperor-like, tyrant type energy. It has been transforming our world on the level of governments and structures and authoritarian or top-down or democracy itself. It's been revolutionizing and ripping it apart. And so Venus and Libra, what I described, you can't just sort of solve all of that or oppose that kind of level of power with a beautiful party and a nice smile. So Venus would get crushed at the table there with Pluto and Capricorn. Mercury supporting Venus a bit, Saturn supporting Venus a bit. But Mercury is just a sextile. It could speak out on her behalf a bit, might not make a huge difference. Saturn is supporting it with a trine. So there are some forces that, you know, that are trying to get people to like pull back, calm down, consider everyone, be a bit more gentle here. But it's like there's too much distraction in the air. It's not strong enough to overwhelm the other levels of conflict or distraction. But there will be people out there with that voice, or you could be one, but you might have a hard time being heard amidst the distraction. Pluto's also squaring Jupiter in Taurus. Again, Jupiter in Taurus just wants everything to be secure and safe and lock and load and black and white, and doesn't want things to change too much, and give me, give me comfort, give me good food, give me a good fat bank account. I'll just sit here. I'll be good. Don't want to change a thing if I'm comfortable. And Pluto is not having that either. It's going to be like, well, the revolution ain't comfortable. Sorry. It's about as clear as I can say it. Yeah. The revolution is not comfy. On the other hand, Pluto is making a trine to Uranus, which is also in Taurus, which we've talked about the last many years, which does represent more a revolutionary planet. And in this case, they're both in the 7th house of relationships. So, I'm just humming and hawing because I'm not sure, like, what area of our lives will we feel this the most in this chart. There's a lot going on. Some of you might feel that there's some power struggles or authority or like posturing or something going on in your relationships, and you're going to address that, or maybe you're ready to take some space or walk away with Uranus. Jupiter in Taurus makes you want to stick and cling with all these people that you feel comfortable with, but Uranus makes you want to break free of old patterns. Saturn and Pisces, having just compassion for everybody can make people stay and in anything. And it could be in a good way with, detachment and understanding, or it could be in a martyr way where you really need to move forward, but you won't. You're sort of stuck having, you might have sympathy for someone who's toxic towards you, for example, with Saturn and Pisces, and not move on. So this is a really convoluted chart to sort of synthesize what's going on this moon. Let's look at some other aspects going on with it too, because we've got, the nodes oppose all the time, but Chiron was what's bringing us forward with the North Node versus Venus, that I mentioned. Chiron and Aries, you need to find yourself. You might have lost your sense of self, and you've got to find it again. There's a wound in not having a good sense of self, putting yourself first, without not above other people, but just knowing how to confidently say, hey, this is me, and this is my life, and I matter. And so that deep down Venus wanting things to be pleasant and please and possibly capitulate, because when it's the wound that's bringing us forward to where we need to go, that's rough. We all need to look at that, though, because the Chiron and the North Node are in Aries for a while together. And this is maybe why things are so uncomfortable this year. We all need to take a look at where we are not being true and authentic to ourselves. And you need to get your self-esteem back and learn healthier ways of honoring yourself and being more authentic. So the North Node tugging us towards deal with your wound. It's heavy, right? And Pluto is squaring off with that. So this is really challenging between, do I put myself first or do I please others? Do I sacrifice a bit of of my needs for the greater, for the collective, or do I revolutionize my life and say, no, I've got to move forward even if other people aren't coming with me? These are huge choices. Nobody can tell you black or white in a chart. Nobody can predict something for all of us. So, you're going to resonate with some parts more than another. And that's where it's so important to know where this is hitting in your own life, in your own chart. Now, as we mentioned, Mercury has a good aspect to Venus. So it's in Sagittarius, which is, like I mentioned, usually more, more fiery, energetic, a little more truth-telling, a little more blunt than Libra would like it, but it could help it could help speak out on your behalf. But it's also making really good aspects over here to that Chiron and North Node we mentioned. So, with Mercury supporting that Aries direction, sometimes those memes that sometimes say that, I should have told more people to F off in this life. This is almost like that, Mercury in Sag trine Chiron and North Node in Aries. It's almost like, well, sometimes to heal, you might need to say F you to somebody or some situation. It's direct, it's blunt, it's finally clear, and so it's not going to pussyfoot around and use all kinds of extra words it doesn't need to. It could be like a slap. As I said, things come out truthfully with Sag. It's just that, it feels abrasive the way it came out. Doesn't mean it wasn't true. Doesn't mean it's not honest. It's just the way it was delivered. Might have felt like a smack. And we've also got our Sun Mars making a nice aspect to Neptune, which is in Pisces as well. So, my Lord, it's confusing. I don't know if you get what I'm talking about yet, if you don't study astrology, but it's like there's so many layers of this going on. It's sort of crazy making. When you've got fire signs trining water signs, but like it's Neptune. Mars and Sun and Sag. Let's get the car, start the car. Kind of like that IKEA. It's Mars, Sun, and Mars. Start the car. Let's go. And it's trine Neptune and Pisces, which is like, oh, I think I see something in the clouds. Oh my God, that's giving me a message right now. Start the car. Drive. Get your head out of the clouds. Hard to see how that trine is going to. How would that play out? Well, sometimes that smooth dreaminess of Neptune, if it's combined with fire and bluntness, it might give you a nice little, and it's going to be so wonderful, our trip. And you're going to feel, I don't know, it might give a bit of a glam to it, a bit of and idealize it, make it seem even more wow. And Neptune is not aspecting the moon. So, and it's helping out Uranus a little bit, helping out the revolution there. It's very hard to synthesize this chart this time. I'm sure you haven't seen me just tongue-tied like this very often. I can usually feel the theme pretty clearly. And in this case, my head just feels like it's going to explode. So, so in that case, what would you fall back on? Again, you would look at, well, where does it fit in your own chart? What aspects is it emphasizing? For me, the Sun Mars matches my own Mars, and the moon is close to my Venus. So when I look at my own chart of Venus opposite Mars, if that's accented, that's the whole thing about wanting to travel far and wide, drop you know, get rid of half my stuff, go live in a little cute van or something and see the world. Sag. Versus the other side that wants to be part of the community and walk around and drop by at people's houses and chit chat on the sidewalk and, you know, get more people active in my own little local area amidst other projects. And I have that in my own chart. So I go through these two extremes in my life all the time. And it's like weighing which is the happier way to live, because they both could be good. So then what do you look to resolve the problem? So if any of you have this in your chart, then you'll struggle with the whole city or country, loner or social butterfly. You'll struggle with that too. If you don't, then maybe you feel it temporarily. Maybe it'll affect your upcoming, you know, plans over the next couple of weeks. Maybe you've got other people around you struggling with those things. It can also be a struggle of like city or country. Sag would like the country, and Moon and Gemini would like to be in the city. So a lot of people have that struggle. Where to live, how to live, you know. That's why if you're really rich, you have a city place and you have a cottage in the country, right? That's why so many people strive for that. It's such a hard one to come to terms with. What's the best, how do you weigh that? What's the best way to live? So if on the other hand, you know, you're a Libra, then your themes are going to be Venus coming along and the Chiron and Aries. Like, so it really depends on your sign, what struggle you're going through here. Overall, though, I would say this full moon is just like a moon in Gemini. It's bringing up too many things at once. You might feel flooded with options and different opinions and paradigms and things to consider, or too many people, or too many something. So overwhelm might be the theme of this full moon. Let's take a look at our cards for this, for the full moon now. Well, it didn't burn very much. Let me just light it again. So yeah, you can see I'm moving slower this video. Sorry about that, everybody. That's what happens when you have overwhelm, right? Or you're flooded. Your nervous system just gets sort of in a freeze mode. So I've got a bit of that going on. Too many things as well. Holidays do that. Holiday season always brings up way too many things to consider, I find. All right. So let's do our tarot. So this full moon, can we get any clarity with the cards? So first card is the Princess of Swords. We'll stop sharing the chart. First card is the Princess of Swords, which is, as you can see, somebody who's struggling. She's sort of like flailing her swords against the clouds, or could be sort of like laser beams. It's hard to say. And she's standing on like a smoky cloud. We don't even know what she's standing on. Her foundation isn't strong. So this is always somebody who might be really strong and intelligent, fierce even, strong-willed, but doesn't have a lot of support or a good foundation, so she can be combative and she can make her own life harder. And we've got the Prince of Wands, who is like a fiery Leo type of thing. Think of a young Brad Pitt, very confident, right? The arms are out to the side. He's posed, very casually and in a pretty way on his little chariot, right? Doesn't look too much like a man who's driving a chariot. It looks more like a magician who's like, lion, take me wherever I say, opening his arms and like ready to pounce or something off of his seat. So there's a lot of confidence, maybe too much, a little overconfident bravado. So can you think of anybody around you who fits that temperament? Then we've got the 10 of discs, which is the card of often inheritance, investments, chunks of money coming in. So you can see like Mercury is at the top 3 coins. You can see Mercury is written in there. And Mercury, Hermes. That's why it's sort of like the card of inheritance. You've got money and coins, but you've got Mercury or Hermes, which visits the underworld. So money could show up. Doesn't mean a lot, but sometimes it's a lump sum. It's a chunk. Do you win a lotto scratchy? Maybe. I don't know. Do you get an investment dividend coming in? Do you get a loan that you need, an advance, a bonus, something like that? You might be asking for that money too. You could be applying for a loan or a line of credit or something like that. The Empress. So this is like the cosmic divine mother. She's more than just a mother. She's got her little lotus in her hand and she's cradling her arm as if there's a baby, but there's no baby there. So it's often the pregnancy card. You see the swan at the bottom with her little goslings. And you see like the coat of arms has like 2 birds that are in love here. And you've got 2 moons that she's between. And you've got the ball and scepter on her crown, showing her power. But the lotus is interesting in front of her heart because that's almost more of a Buddhist reference. Well, it is a Buddhist reference. So it's the deep wisdom and of a motherly or nurturing person who also knows how to create, who also understands the nature of life and death and past lives, and ultimately that compassion factor is very strong. So do you know such a person? Then we've got the Lovers card. So I mean, this one looks more like lovers than many cards. There's a wedding going on. Look at the opposition. They're both in their robes, black hair, darker skin, blonde hair, white skin. She's wearing a darker crown. He's wearing a golden crown to match her hair. The little cupids at the bottom, one of them is white with blonde, one of them is dark skinned, and it's just beautiful how everything is like so, like a mirror. And I love that there's diversity that's being celebrated in this union. Sometimes the lovers means that there is a love relationship coming or that you're concerned for. And other times it can be any other kind of partnership. So it can mean like business partners, even sometimes friends, but it's like a union of opposites and it looks pretty harmonious. They are getting married by a figure that is very likely the Hierophant, which is the card before it. You can sort of see his hands and it's sort of making like a swirl of energy, bringing them together. The Cupid, who is blind, is shooting the arrow, and if he shot it straight, he would actually miss this couple, which is interesting. There's a lot going on. Then you have these other two figures at the top. You have another female figure who looks very innocent, who looks like she's praying. And then you've got this other one who looks a bit older and a bit crooked. And, you know, those could be other aspects of you, unintegrated aspects of us, pain body, childlike side. So lots of weighing of relationship is what I'm getting out of this reading. Yeah, wow, now we've got the Justice card. There's some big decisions to be made. You won't make them on the full moon, but they're coming up. Yeah, and the Justice card makes it so that they're fairly official, meaning they'll stick, you know? You have to call it a day. You have to have weighed everything and really call something a day, or call it like it is after you've done your best. It's not about just pleasing and making things fair and like trying to make it all perfectly fair. Even though it's a Libra card, it's not what she's doing. She's weighing all the pieces on all levels and trying to come to the most fair and just decision. And of course, we all know that can be really hard if you're doing that. You could be doing that with any of, like we've already seen, you know, different people showing up in this reading. You can be weighing many, many factors right now before you come to that decision. I don't think the decision will happen this full moon. And then you've got Three of Discs, which is Mars and Capricorn. It's all about being productive. This card is about work, working hard, usually pretty much full time. It's about productivity. It's very forceful in a good way. It uses Mars energy in the least destructive way. So it uses all of that fire and passion towards a long-term goal, towards doing something ambitious. So that's an interesting twist from people around that might not be the most aligned to like a divine mother, counselor, guide around you. The Lover's card, like, and the Justice card, you're resolving something really deep about people, but then it goes into the work mode. It's interesting. We got another person. Next guy is our Prince of Discs. Crawley didn't like this guy. Saw him as just like, he's sort of a Taurus. Look at his bull. He can just be really like lazy and indulgent and dull-minded, you know, just wanting comfort without exerting himself. A bit of someone who can take advantage of people if allowed to. We can see that he's not sitting up straight. He's not facing forward. He's hanging on to his big ball. And this bull is driving the ship, but it doesn't look like he's even facing. Like, what are you doing there then? Like, turn around and face and go forward and help the momentum. Instead, he's like, oh, I'm here, but not really. Like, I'm here, but I won't really exert myself. So Crawley didn't like it. And you might be encountering somebody like that too around this productivity, someone who is not on board, or maybe even slowing down the ship. And finally, one more person. Gosh, see, this is mirroring this reading, this chart. There's just too many people, too many things going on, too many factors, too many aspects to weigh everything. It's crazy making. So now we got another guy. Prince of Cups is a lovely guy, nice personality, caring, gentle usually, you know, creative. And at the same time, he has trouble making commitments and stepping up to be fully a man. He's like, he could actually be a younger boy, you know, he could be a son, a nephew, he could be someone who's in his teens. We don't expect him to carry the full weight or responsibility of a man just yet because he's emotional. So it's not just like do your chores kind of man. It's like pull your weight emotionally with people too. That's a whole other level of maturity. But he has trouble following through and making commitments. So whoever this is in your life, looks like you're weighing all of these people around you and figuring out where do I put my energy? What's worth what here? So let's take a look and see if we can give any clarity to your signs. Let's hope because it's feeling so muddy. All right. So I'm just going to pull a card to help with any kind of clarity. How can we bring clarity? A moment of clarity to your sign. What will bring you clarity? Yeah. All right. Aries, what will bring you clarity? The sun. All right. So for you, you have to stay lighthearted and stay playful and use your energy towards being joyful and not letting people put a damper on you or rain on your parade for this full moon period. You might not be as high energy as we said with the Sagittarius and Mars, but some of you, it might, you know, some Aries, if you're born the beginning of Aries, so end of March, it's going to maybe support and fire you up, give you some juice. So let yourself have some fun. And with like this is like honoring your inner child. It doesn't mean childish, but it's just honoring like your inner child is the way you're going to get clarity. And you know, based on that, like how people react to it, that'll tell you what you need to know as far as discernment. Taurus, what's your moment of clarity? Victory. Jupiter and Leo. I get the feeling you sort of need a victory. You need a win. You need something that works out the way you want. I don't know. I'm getting the feeling, have you been sort of frustrated or feeling like you always have to go, oh well, oh well, oh well. Not what I hoped, not what I wanted. You need a moment, you need something of a win. So obviously we know we can't control many things in this life to give us a win if it's relying on other people or external forces. So how do you give yourself a win? I would say it would be through something that you do for yourself or something you initiate for yourself that you absolutely must follow through on the schedule you want, in the way you would like, in the way you want. And that could give you a sense of victory. And it'll probably challenge you along the way because there's things or distractions along the way that are getting in your way of completing something to feel like that's a victory. I did it. I did it the way I wanted, in the time frame I wanted. Yay! You know? Yeah. And maybe you don't even know what would feel like a victory, what would feel like a win. So if you're not even sure, meditate on what would give me the feeling of a win right now. All right. Geminis, what would be your moment of clarity? You got the Ace of Discs. It's going to be something related to finance. Hmm. 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 Could also sometimes be related to more of a friendship, possibly business partner too. It's the energy of like something solid that's beginning. So as we mentioned, Gemini, you like to do many things at once and initiate and have many irons and many pots on the stove at once. And sometimes it's exciting, and sometimes it's sort of like, how do I say this? You can let yourself get involved in things where, if you're honest, it's you sort of know that it's passing, it's fleeting. So instead, it's like, how you would get some clarity is try to look at, are some of the things that I'm getting myself into, whether that's new friends or projects, do they have more of a feeling of solidity? Or is it just sort of curious and I know it's not gonna last? Try to go for the solid. Go for the solid. Cancer. Wow, your clarity. Queen of Swords. Usually Cancers are not Queens of Swords. You might have a Queen of Swords in your life then. Cancers are much more sensitive than that. They don't just um, use pure rationale and sort of cold, calculated decision making. They don't just cut. They don't say nasty things. Do you have someone in your life like that? Your moment of clarity, or the person, yeah, since I said you're flooded, we're all flooded with too many options. Well, maybe your first decision or clarity moment is clarity around somebody who's like that. So this is somebody who's intelligent and usually is powerful in some way. And she can be very sort of cold, and she can say things that are cruel. If you feel like there's been somebody around you who's been insensitive to that degree, that might be the first person that you want to get some clarity with or from. Leo, what would help you with clarity, Leo? Yeah, and you've got the Ten of Cups, which is like my burnout card. Um, well, this to me is a very clear message then. You gotta delegate. You gotta delegate. You gotta let go of something. There's too many things on your mind or on your plate. And as you can see, the cups are full. They're full of light. Maybe that's water, but they look like light. They're they're all flowing, looks like a nice little fountain. But why is a water card red? It's dry. That's why it's dry. It's actually probably light, not water. The waters run dry, light is flowing, card's red and dry, raw. It's a weird sort of thing to say because it looks bountiful, but there's actually there's not much more to give. So I would say you need some rest for clarity and you need to delegate or let go of something. Virgos. What do you need for clarity? Ah, that's nice. Virtue. Virgo, you know when you're calm and rested, you know very clearly what you know. You know what you know. You know what you want. You know how you like it. You know what you don't like. So this is sort of like a big moment of self-honesty. pull back a little, take some me time, just get really honest with yourself. And that will make your decisions a lot clearer. So it sort of means you might be um, either overwhelmed or too tired to sort of get your head straight about things. You need a bit of time alone, me time, or extra sleep. I don't know. You need some extra rest and time alone because you've always got the ability to discern. You like so if some of these figures people were mentioning in the reading are making you overwhelmed, too tired, whatever, flooded, confused, you need to step back until you say, what am I doing? Like, I know how I think. I know how I see the world because you do. I know what I like and what I don't like because you do. So if you're overwhelmed in any way, ask yourself, okay, why have I gone so far over to please accommodate and get true to yourself again? Virtue is like come back to a healthy sense of yourself and get true. And you'll know what to do. All right. Scorpios. Sorry, Libras. Libras. How do you get your clarity? Oh, Eight of Cups, Saturn and Pisces. Well, again, like we mentioned, that Venus is all alone sitting there, feeling unsupported and unheard because she's too gentle to be heard in the 12th house without support. Now, this is a Saturn and Pisces card. Saturn and Pisces is supporting Venus in the sky right now. What is Saturn Pisces lesson again? Understanding that we're all connected. So just because things can't be as harmonious, diplomatic, fair, or pleasant as you would like, doesn't mean that we're not all in this together. It just might be a messier version than you would like it to be. So this is saying, you need to lift your mindset out of any kind of depression or despair that might make you feel sad or separate, or like, what's the point, or stuff like that, like heavy feelings, heavy, dark thoughts. And just recognize, like, just because things aren't the way you wish they were doesn't mean they're bad. And just recognize your connections to other people and reach out to people. Don't stay with these dark, nasty thoughts if you're getting them, or bad moods. Reach out and talk to somebody to remember that you're connected, and many other people are feeling the same way as you are. All right, Scorpios. Well, your realignment, your clarity will come from actually making a commitment. Just to me, the King of Cups here is very clear. Like, he's on his horse flying towards, looks like a love, he's carrying his cup, which has the Cancer symbol, the crab. And he looks very sure who he loves and what he wants. And the horse is looking back at us like, you watching me? Because we're going, you're not stopping us. So to me, this is very much then sort of that Sun Mars Sag energy. Like, you're more in the launch your arrow and commit. This could be an emotional commitment, by the way, that you make a deeper emotional commitment. Could even be a spiritual commitment since it's King of Cups. But it's definitely for you, your clarity will come from further committing. Sagittarians, happy birthday. How do you make clarity? Well, you've got the card of clarity right here. Doesn't look like you need too much help with clarity actually right now. You got the Mars and the sun energizing you. Maybe you don't give two about anything, about the whole overwhelm that everyone else might be feeling. You just might be so like, don't care. know what I want, know what I'm doing, know how I see the world. That's it. Take it or leave it, man. And if you're a Sag who's not feeling that way, it doesn't mean you're my way or the highway. It just means like I see the world as that's what I see happening. That's what I feel is important. That's what I know. That's what I'm doing. And you can stick to your own clarity. You know, you can be strong in your own clarity. People need that right now. As long as you're not overbearing about it, you have every right. So that's interesting. It's so different than everybody else's cards. So you don't need the clarity. So, okay, if you don't really need the clarity, if that's your case, that you don't really need a lot of clarity, well, just spread that clarity to others without preaching, but gift that to others, you know, that energy of certainty, because right now so many people feel lost. Yeah. Capricorn, how do you get clarity? Death card. You get your clarity by letting something fall apart, by trusting life, trust life, trust life. Trust that whatever is falling apart will come with something else better in its place. Trust that if you're not invited, you weren't meant to be there. Trust that if you are trying so hard for something and it's not panning out, that it's not a bad plan. It's just not time. Let something die so that something else can come in. Whether that's your expectations, your timelines, whether that's something that you're like, yeah, I've given everything I can. I don't feel like finishing that. Let something surprise you as well. The death card can be like a shock, but it, like I said, it always brings something better in its place. So make room for the element of surprise and trust life. Aquarius, how do you get clarity? Oh boy, the universe. Well, that is just proverbial endings. Yeah. Your clarity comes from evaluating your life chapter that you've been in and preparing yourself to start a new one. And you've got until January. Pluto is going into your sign for 20 years. So the last little squeeze of Capricorn energy right now means evaluate and call things a day. You know, you've probably rehashed a million times. Do you go back to somebody? Do you make amends or do you walk away? Do you keep certain stuff and fix it up or do you donate it? Do you go back and finish the course that you started or that you said you wanted to do, or do you just make peace like, I don't even want that anymore, so I'm not going to? Or in turn, do you say, I started that and I stopped, and you know what? I still really want it, so now it's time to follow through. The universe is full of evaluation, and it'll come to fruition, and a lot of beautiful clarity will come for a new chapter. So that's on your horizon. So right now you just have to sort of tie up loose ends and, you know, get off the fence. You've probably weighed things ad nauseum by now. You can decide. You've waited enough. And Pisces, how do you get clarity? Two of Cups. Well, you get your clarity through loving relationships. In your case, it might be good to reach out to somebody that you're close to, someone that you know loves you, if you need to talk or come to a conclusion, or you want validation or reassurance on something before you head forward. But it's a beautiful card. You know, you'll be getting your clarity by somebody who loves you and mirrors you and supports you. Honest with you, but just like mirrors you in terms of like they see you for who you are truly, and they'll hear you out and help you come to a conclusion so you can move forward. And you might need to shed a few tears, you know, but then you'll feel so much better. Well, that's a lovely one. It's a lovely one. So a lot of us are in the mud, but there's a few signs that have some clarity. Look to your local Sag to get an uplift. Ah, all right. I hope that you have a decent full moon, and if you need some help making sense on your particulars with a reading, then I'm always here to help. All right. Have a good time until I see you next time at the new moon in December.